Okay, you guys. So, 50 Cent just did something that has the entire rap game on its knees, and I mean the entire rap game. Because within the last few hours, a highly classified medical file has hit the internet, and it is absolutely tearing the untouchable biggest boss illusion of Rick Ross to shreds. Y'all, this is not a diss track. This is not a subliminal Instagram post. This is a full-blown digital execution. And 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson himself, has officially pulled the pin on a social media grenade that promises the permanent, irreversible destruction of Rick Ross's entire multi-million-dollar legacy. Now, if you have been following this beef for the last 18 years, then you already know these two do not play fair. But what 50 Cent just leaked? Y'all, take a seat, because this is way beyond anything the culture has ever seen. Let me set the scene for you real quick. This is not about fake chains. This is not about who is really a billionaire and who is not. This is not about who owes the IRS what. No. This is way darker than that. What 50 Cent has in his possession right now, according to insiders, is a set of unredacted, forensic-level close-up photographs of a severe, deeply disturbing medical skin condition that Rick Ross has apparently been hiding behind closed doors for months. We are talking about deep-pitted scars. We are talking about painful, weeping lesions across the face and neck. We are talking about a face that Rick Ross has spent years desperately keeping out of natural lighting on every red carpet, every music video, every event. And now those images? They are everywhere. Every group chat in Atlanta, every industry text thread, every hip-hop blog on X everywhere. And it gets worse. As we speak, Rick Ross is reportedly trapped inside his own 300-acre Georgia mansion, the promised land, completely isolated. Sources close to the estate say he has not stepped outside his master suite in days. His staff is describing him as frantic. He is on the phone screaming at his lawyers. His global empire is collapsing in real time. And meanwhile, Curtis Jackson is sitting somewhere with a glass of cognac, laughing at every single notification that pops up on his phone. So what exactly did 50 Cent find? And why is the entire rap world standing in absolute silence right now? Because trust me, this rabbit hole goes so much deeper than a leaked photo. Just stay with me. Now, to understand the magnitude of what is happening right now, we have to rewind. This did not start yesterday. This did not start last month. This started in 2008. Back then, 50 Cent was at the peak of his G-Unit dominance, the man was untouchable. And Rick Ross, well, he was the rising giant off the strength of Hustlin' and that whole Def Jam era. According to industry legend, the whole thing kicked off at the BET Hip Hop Awards when 50 Cent supposedly gave Rick Ross a dismissive look, just a look, nothing else, and Ross took that as a public humiliation. And once Ross fired off those first shots on wax, 50 Cent did something that changed hip-hop beef forever. He did not go to the studio. He did not record a diss. He went and hired private investigators. And what those investigators pulled out of the Florida State Archives? It broke the internet before breaking the internet was even a phrase. Because the man who had built an entire kingdom on being a drug kingpin was exposed as a former corrections officer. Officer Ricky. Y'all remember. The paperwork, the badge photos, the whole thing. That should have ended William Roberts' career on the spot. In any other era, in any other genre, that man would have been finished. But Rick Ross did something that even 50 Cent did not see coming. He refused to fold. He doubled down. He went out and bought Evander Holyfield's 109-room, 300-acre mega mansion, named it the Promised Land, and flooded every timeline with private jets, gold chains, and boss talk until the audience forgot the paperwork ever existed. And that is exactly why 50 Cent has been sitting quiet, waiting, plotting for almost 2 decades. Because 50 knows something that a lot of these new rappers do not know. He knows that in hip-hop, the physical presentation is the currency. The chains, the skin, the swagger, that is the whole product. And if the presentation cracks, the entire brand collapses. So while Rick Ross was busy posting mansion tours and cognac ads, 50 was quietly watching. Studying. Building his TV empire over at Stars. Filing his little bankruptcy paperwork to protect his real bag from that Lastonia Leviston lawsuit. Playing the long game. Because Curtis Jackson does not do quick beefs anymore. Curtis Jackson does structural demolition. And that is what he has done here. Which brings us all the way back to right now, to this current medical crisis, and to the 24-hour countdown that has the entire industry holding its breath. Now, according to insider timelines, the whole thing detonated at exactly 3:14 in the morning Eastern Time yesterday. And you have to picture the setting, because the setting is important. Rick Ross is inside the master suite of the Promised Land. This is a compound with private security, a private lake, dozens of luxury cars parked on the lawn like a showroom. According to leaks from domestic staff, Ross had been in creative isolation for weeks. He had canceled dinners. He had ghosted business partners. He had told his team he was working on some big new multimedia project. Which, honestly, the industry believed. Ross is always cooking up something. But behind those iron gates? The real story was very, very different. Because what actually happened is that an encrypted digital portal belonging to a high-end dermatology clinic in Atlanta got breached. And within minutes, a full folder of ultra-high-definition close-up photos surfaced on a private Telegram channel that just so happens to be linked directly to the G-Unit Media Network. Convenient, right? And what those photos show, y'all, is honestly hard to watch. Rick Ross's chest, his neck, his upper jawline, all of it appears to be ravaged by an aggressive, inflammatory skin infection. Deep, crater-like pitted scars. Painful lesions weeping across the skin. And the wildest part? Those famous heavy Cuban link chains that Ross wears in every single video, insiders are saying those chains actually acted as the catalyst. The sheer weight, the heat, the sweat, the polish on the gold, it all created a chemical friction that trapped bacteria in his pores and triggered what one dermatologist called a flesh-eroding dermatological crisis. Rick Ross's own brand became the weapon that turned on him. And listen. As shocking as that visual is, the psychological warfare had only just started. Because less than 2 hours after those photos leaked, 50 Cent hit his own social media page. He did not tiptoe. He did not subtweet. He posted the unredacted close-up right on his main feed. And then he wrote the caption, and y'all, this caption is going to be in beef textbooks for the next 20 years. He wrote, and I quote, "Look at this. The biggest boss is literally rotting from the inside out. Ricky, you out here telling the kids to get rich forever, but your own body is trying to evict your face. You can't even wear your fake chains anymore because your skin is rejecting the cheap brass. The presentation is dead, Officer Ricky. The mold is taking over. Y'all." He said the mold is taking over. On Main. With the photos attached. Now here is what happened inside Rick Ross's camp, because this part is honestly wild. At around 4:30 that same morning, an anonymous whistleblower leaked screenshots from an encrypted WhatsApp group chat labeled MMG Executive Emergency. And those screenshots paint a picture of pure panic. Ross is reportedly typing in all caps, demanding to know which member of his staff or his medical team leaked those charts. He is ordering his lawyers to shut down media servers before his liquor and lifestyle partners freeze his distribution money. And when his own chief legal counsel comes back and tells him, "Sir, you cannot cease and desist a photo that 50 Cent posted himself," Ross allegedly threatens to fire his entire security team and his entire PR team in one text. That level of chaos inside MMG? Insiders say they have never seen it. But then, right at the peak of that chaos, comes the first real twist. And this is the one that made me sit up in my chair. Because investigative journalists and independent medical consultants started actually analyzing those leaked clinical records. And what they found in the footnotes of those charts turned this whole celebrity scandal into a psychological thriller. That skin infection? That was not a natural condition. That was not something Ross caught. That was not a random flare-up. According to those records, about 3 months ago, Rick Ross allegedly underwent an illegal, highly experimental, unapproved cosmetic procedure. The goal? To artificially tighten the skin around his neck and jawline before his upcoming world tour. So he could look sharper, more aggressive, more boss on stage. And the black market chemical filler used in that procedure? It migrated. It triggered a catastrophic allergic reaction. It caused a deep tissue infection that was actively eating away at his healthy skin, creating dead tissue pockets and those deep pitted craters that everyone is now looking at. So let me put that in plain English. By dropping those photos, 50 Cent did not just expose an illness. He accidentally exposed the fact that Rick Ross, the man who calls himself the biggest boss, the untouchable, was quietly getting black market cosmetic work done to preserve the illusion of youth for the cameras. The very presentation he built his entire empire on was fake. And the procedure he used to keep that presentation intact is now the same procedure destroying his face. Y'all. You cannot make this up. The bill came due, and the bill came in the form of his own reflection. Now if you thought that was the peak, honey, no. It was not. Because at exactly 1:15 p.m. yesterday afternoon, 50 Cent decided to do a live stream. And he did not go live from a music studio. He did not go live from his kitchen or from the back of an SUV. He went live from the office of an elite medical fraud investigation firm. Over 2 million people tuned in real time to watch Curtis Jackson hold up a thick, notarized folder full of medical acquisition contracts. He poured himself a glass of cognac. He looked into the camera. He laughed. And then he dropped the second twist that pretty much broke the internet. 50 Cent revealed that his own media conglomerate had quietly executed a complete asset buyout of the exact offshore medical laboratory in South America that manufactured the experimental chemical filler used on Rick Ross's neck. Let that sink in for a second. He did not just leak a medical record. He now owns the manufacturing logs. He owns the chemical formulas. He owns the digital server records of every single shipment that lab ever sent to Ross's private medical team. Every single one. And 50 Cent announced on that livestream that his legal team had already routed those forensic dockets straight to the FDA and to the state medical board, which triggered a high-stakes investigation and gave Rick Ross's private doctors exactly 24 hours before their licenses get pulled permanently. So now the scandal is not just embarrassing anymore. Now the scandal is a federal regulatory disaster. Now doctors are going to lose their careers. Now lawyers are involved. Now Rick Ross is not just fighting a photo leak. Rick Ross is fighting the government. And the internet, y'all, the internet completely lost it. The hashtag #MangoBoss went nuclear. 3 million posts in 3 hours on X. People were making split-screen comparisons of Ross's old red carpet photos next to those forensic tissue damage charts. One verified industry insider tweeted, and this got quoted everywhere, "If 50 Cent actually bought the lab, it is over." He does not just want to win the beef. He wants to legally put Ross and his entire medical team in a federal holding cell. This is the most diabolical chess move in hip-hop history. Another tweet with over 200,000 likes said, and I love this one, "You cannot call yourself the biggest boss when your worst enemy literally owns the receipt for the chemicals that melted your neck." Ross is finished. And then MMG's own family tried to jump in. Meek Mill hopped on his timeline swinging. He posted, "Y'all are falling for corporate propaganda. They tearing down a strong black billionaire over some fake medical photos. Don't believe the hype. MMG is forever." Now, listen. Meek's heart was in the right place. But 50 Cent operates with clinical malice. Within seconds, 50 hit back and publicly told Meek to shut up before he leaked the plastic surgery invoices for Meek's own cosmetic work. Y'all. Meek Mill deleted that post in under 60 seconds. 60 seconds. And after that? The rest of the MMG roster went completely silent. Even Drake, who has his own tangled history with both of these men, reportedly dropped a single crying laughing emoji on a rap blog and then wiped his whole social media clean for the day just to protect his corporate alignments. Nobody wanted to catch the smoke. Nobody. By late evening, it got worse. Top-tier luxury beverage brands and global distribution partners reportedly called emergency midnight board meetings to suspend their multi-million-dollar endorsement deals with Rick Ross. They were terrified of being tied to what is essentially an illegal black market medical scandal. And just when everyone thought the drama had hit its ceiling, a third piece of evidence dropped. A blurry, high-contrast photograph surfaced showing an official medical emergency transport vehicle parked at the gates of the Promised Land. The camera caught hazmat-suited private medical personnel offloading heavy-duty silver medical storage cases. And the return address stamped on those cases? Not a local hospital. Not a private clinic. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Infectious Disease Division. Y'all. The CDC. The leaked text with that photo alleges that federal medical investigators are now actively investigating whether that experimental procedure created a highly contagious, drug-resistant superbug strain inside Rick Ross's mansion. Are they about to quarantine the entire 300-acre estate? What is inside those silver cases? And how did a rap beef turn into a federal biological emergency in under 24 hours? Now let me tell you what the timeline is doing right now. Because the timeline is not a timeline anymore. It is a war zone. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, every single platform is split into two hostile camps that are absolutely tearing each other apart in the comments. On one side, Team 50 Cent is basically running a victory parade in every reply section. G-Unit fans have flooded Ross's old luxury posts with biohazard emojis, syringe emojis, green face emojis. One post that hit 400,000 likes said, 50 Cent did not defeat him in a rap battle. 50 Cent executed a biological takeover of the man's entire body. Imagine flexing a billionaire empire for 20 years just to find out your worst enemy holds the formula to the chemicals rotting your neck. Another one just said, Repo Ricky, if your face is turning into a high school science experiment, you are not a boss. You are a warning label. Y'all. The bars from the fans are hitting harder than most rap beefs. But on the other side, Rick Ross's die-hard loyalists are firing back with pure conspiracy energy. They are saying the whole thing is a deep fake. They are saying G-Unit's tech team engineered these photos to psychologically break the boss. Top Ross fan pages have been posting emotional video essays claiming, quote, "This isn't a medical failure. This is a calculated economic and physical assassination targeting a black billionaire's independent infrastructure. The scars are lighting reflections. The lesions are a temporary allergic reaction to a standard, legal treatment. Which, okay. Say what you want. But those photos are real, y'all. Multiple independent dermatologists have already verified the tissue patterns." Mainstream news picked up the story fast. Breaking news banners started flashing on entertainment networks. On the industry's biggest morning radio show, the hosts abandoned their scheduled programming to do a 3-hour on-air argument about whether MMG can even survive this as a brand. And every streaming platform is reporting unprecedented traffic spikes because everyone, and I mean everyone, is refreshing for one thing. They want to see if Rick Ross will finally come out of that mansion and prove he is okay. Or if he is going to stay behind those iron gates until the storm passes. And every hour that he stays hidden, the internet gets louder. But right here, right at the peak of the chaos, comes the twist that has left the world's top corporate attorneys and federal prosecutors completely paralyzed. And I need you to lock in for this part. At exactly 2:15 a.m. last night, a decentralized hacker collective operating on the dark web dropped an audio file. The title of the file was simply MMG_medical_strategy_06. And what is inside that audio file has completely rewritten the entire storyline of this beef. Because on that audio file, you can clearly hear Rick Ross on the phone with his criminal defense attorney, recorded just moments after those CDC transport vehicles pulled up to his estate gates. And here is the chilling part. Rick Ross is not crying. Rick Ross is not panicking. Rick Ross is not screaming. What you hear on that recording is Rick Ross laughing. A slow, raspy, sinister, booming laugh. And then he tells his attorney, in a voice that is chillingly calm, "Let him talk, man. Let him take the photos to the media and throw the invoices around." The idiot swallowed the bait hook, line, and sinker. He thinks he's playing chess. He just walked his entire G-Unit empire straight into a federal buzzsaw. Y'all. The script just got flipped in blood. Because according to the strategy Ross lays out in that leaked audio, the entire medical disaster, the horrific photos, the lab buyout, the FDA referral, all of it, was not a defeat. It was a lethal reverse corporate trap. The leaked audio reveals that the offshore medical laboratory 50 Cent so proudly bought out. That laboratory was already under an active, sealed, top-secret federal criminal investigation by the Department of Justice. Chemical smuggling. Tax evasion. Distributing toxic counterfeit cosmetic agents to celebrities all over the world. Ross's financial advisors reportedly discovered the sealed DOJ file months ago. And once they realized the whole company was toxic and was going to be seized by the feds anyway, Ross made a decision. He staged the procedure. He used a harmless, temporary skin irritant to fake a horrific-looking infection under his own cameras. He deliberately left a big, obvious paper trail sitting in that Atlanta clinic for 50 Cent's investigators to find. Because Ross knew that Curtis Jackson's obsession with destroying him would push 50 to do something reckless the second that distressed lab hit the corporate market. And that is exactly what happened. The second 50 Cent's parent company, Prestige Sky Holdings LLC, closed on that offshore lab purchase. 50 Cent legally inherited every single liability attached to that facility. The corrupt corporate history. The active federal investigation. All of it. That massive federal presence at Rick Ross's mansion? That was not a health quarantine for Ross. That was a prearranged federal deposition. Ross was the cooperating witness. Ross was handing over his medical records to the feds as evidence against the lab. And those unmarked federal vehicles that eyewitnesses reported were actually there to notify Ross that the government was moving in to freeze and seize the corporate accounts of the new owner. Which is 50 Cent. Which is Curtis Jackson. Which is G-Unit. Y'all. 50 Cent did not just buy Rick Ross's medical secret. 50 Cent accidentally bought himself a first-class ticket into a federal criminal investigation. He walked right into it. And he laughed all the way in. Right now, unconfirmed reports are saying unmarked federal vehicles have been spotted heading toward 50 Cent's corporate headquarters in New York. Local authorities have blocked off the main entrances to Rick Ross's Georgia estate to control the media chaos. And every single major label executive in hip-hop is on the phone with their lawyers as we speak, trying to figure out where they stand. This is not a rap beef anymore. This is a countdown to a systemic execution. And the culture is holding its breath. Now, I want to hear from you. Because there are so many angles on this one, and I honestly do not know where I land yet. Did Rick Ross just pull off the most brilliant reverse trap in hip-hop history? Did 50 Cent finally play himself after 2 decades of playing everybody else? Or is Curtis Jackson about to drop a counterblow that ends MMG for good? Because trust me, if I know anything about 50 Cent, he does not lose quietly. If he is walking into a federal case, he is walking in with a matching set of receipts of his own. And I have a feeling we have not seen the last leak yet. Drop your predictions in the comments below. Tell me who you think wins this one. Tell me if you think Ross faked the whole medical crisis or if that audio file is itself a fake planted by 50 Cent's team to shift the narrative. Because both of those theories are floating around right now, and I want to know where y'all stand. Also, if you attended any recent Rick Ross event and noticed him covering up or moving different, let me know in the comments too. I've been reading through some of those event recaps and things are starting to line up in a weird way. Smash that like button, subscribe if you are not already subscribed, and turn on all notifications. Because the second that first federal asset freeze drops, or the second that first arrest warrant hits, whichever side it lands on, we are going live. And you know I always bring the tea first. But that's all I have for you today. I'll talk to you later.